4, 3.
We'll do it live!
Now we're live! Erin Kennedy. The general craziness of it, the impact on your life.
We have gone through so many stories and we said, you know what? This should not be kept to the two of us. Hi, Megan.
Hi, Erin.
Hi. I'm going to pick up right where we left off.
Pick it up. Take it, girl. Take it away. You're so crazy good. I don't know where my box is. I'm afraid my kids ate it.
I hope they didn't need the box.
No, it's somewhere. I'm a horrible looker for things and
But I bet you said that you're crazy good, not horrible looker of
I think I was crazy good too. The other thing that I had that I couldn't find when I just ran upstairs 2 seconds ago to look for it was I had when I did Good Morning America from Miami. So I was just filling in on a maternity leave from one of the women who did the weekend weather. But I did it for it was a good 8 weeks or something like that every weekend. They had a segment where they were doing dolls, you could make dolls look like you. So I have a Megan Glaros doll.
But you don't know where it is?
It's upstairs. I just don't know which area of my closet I jammed it in and which pants I've thrown over it. So I can't find it.
How much does it look like you?
The face looks quite a bit like me. The outfit I wouldn't be caught dead in, but I guess they weren't worried about that part.
All right, so you go find it. And we'll start next episode with the Megan doll.
It's up there. I know it is. And my Pop Tart box. But my Pop Tart box looks like your Pop Tart box. So that's the same. Put my face on there.
I just went through my box. So this was when we were in a mall campaign.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know which mall it was.
I don't either. Was that the Block 37? Were we there?
I think so. It doesn't look like Block 37.
Okay. I also we were on a billboard too. You remember that?
I do, Megan. I do, because I could barely open my eyes. My eyelashes were so heavy and fake. I feel like I look at that billboard and I was like this.
You had that drowsy, sexy look.
But do you remember how hot it was that day too?
Oh God, it was torture.
And we were out there for 4 hours.
A long time along the river, right?
No,
that day?
Oh, but yeah, in the river too.
Yeah.
No. Not that one. All that. It was the Bean and the Gardens.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus. It was so hot. Yeah.
And
I get them all mixed up because we also had usually I would have the morning ones with you guys, but then we would have the weather team ones too, which was a completely different thing that they would try to promote because your weather team has your back in severe storms. Questioning the weather, count on them, or whatever the heck it was,
Well, and then this campaign, the Be Yourself, Be Original, was to dovetail with the original reporting, which was, I think, a CBS wide thing.
I feel like it was. Well, I'm not sure.
But this was the promo that we had talked about before, where they wrote your lines for you, but they wrote, Megan said, "Go dance in the rain."
I said it because I felt like I was too tired to fight it, but I remember thinking I would probably die before I would actually ever say that. I would never.
Well, it says be yourself. It says be yourself, but we were actually being whatever the promotions department
dance in the rain. Dance. I feel like you can't say dance. You'd have to be dance in the rain.
Dance.
I hate it. It's so not me at all.
I feel like we had some loose ends, but I'm all unraveled officially. So
I can't find my doll. I can't find my Pop Tart box. I don't know where my headshots are.
I did find an old headshot the other day too. I have stuff scattered everywhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Our friend Brad has said that he can convert our DVCs to some other format so we can show people our old bloopers and stuff.
If I can find the recording, I did a weather in Parkersburg, West Virginia. So picture a barely 21-year-old Megan Glaros doing the weather. I think I started there in August. I think I graduated college at 20 and then whatever. I was barely, right? I was young. So 20, whatever. I don't know how old I was, but anyway, I, I got there and there was a severe thunderstorm warning, but I was like, I knew what it was, of course, but I wasn't exactly sure what I should say. So there is a video of me saying, there's a thunderstorm warning. You're going to need to stay away from big trees.
That's
What?
good, right?
Not inaccurate, but also really super awkward. Stay away from large trees and lightning.
Have we talked before about the poor communities who live in small market TV? And they just have to put up with people who are doing their first year of TV. And it's a steep learning curve, guys. So
Oh,
it is judgment free. I can't tell you the mistakes I made when I was first starting. My first live shot, I was in the newsroom and the anchors were tossing to me. And I told my photog, because I had a separate camera on me, I was like, please give me a hard cue, which means go like this, so that you're on. Because I'm afraid like I'm going to hear something, but I won't know. It's my first live shot. And so they toss to me and I hear it, but he doesn't cue me. So I sit there and I sit there and I sit there until you see the news director jump out of his office behind me in the newsroom.
go.
And then I started talking. It was, And
Erin. Well, at least you had live capabilities in one of your first markets. Parkersburg, West Virginia, market 188. There was one station in town. It was an NBC affiliate. That was it. There was not any competition. That's where I started. And we did not have capabilities of going live. That means there was no live truck. There was no nothing. We were like on tape or die, which was probably good.
Parkersburg?
What?
What market was Parkersburg?
188 at the time. And
How did you go there? How did you even pick that?
Weird, right? Well, because I had been like, they scared the crap out of us when I was in college in the journalism classes, saying like, it's so hard to get your first job in TV. That's up from there. And like, if you get that first job, you need to take it. So I feel like that was like the first place I sent my tape and they hired me. And I was like, I'm going. Also, my aunt lived not too far away in Southern Ohio. So I think she could actually get me. She got like a mixture of Parkersburg and like Huntington, Charleston or whatever. And so I thought to myself, well, self, at least someone can watch you. I was there 5 months, 5 long months.
All right. So just as a quick point of reference, we are doing an Ask Me Anything, finishing that up today, but just so people can see markets and market sizes. So number 1 is New York, 2 is LA, 3 is Chicago. Scroll down.
Find Parkersburg. Is it still 188?
I'm sure it's moved. Let's see. Parkersburg is 194. It's dropped since you've left.
Oh my God, it went down. It was 188 back in 2002. It's been a while.
Glendive, Montana. Still, but there used to be 212 markets. So 2 markets.
210. Some must have combined or something. And then there are interesting markets too, which have probably grown exponentially. Like look at that 142 Topeka, Kansas. I guess
that's my first market.
Yep. Lubbock. You started so much higher than I did, Erin.
Yes, I did.
Scroll back down to Parkersburg though. Okay. I went from Parkersburg, highlight that, to Baltimore. That was a pretty big jumperoo.
Isn't Baltimore like number 6?
20 something maybe.
Oh
no. Yeah, 28.
Holy moly, Megan.
Yeah, but I probably wasn't ready.
And that's the thing. I mean, you learn so much just by doing it. So you just have to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to be making mistakes and it's going to be part of the learning curve. It's going to be a very public learning curve.
Oh, and that's the thing. Like you're making your mistakes with the whole world / the market capability.
The tiny little town of Parkersburg.
Right. They're watching you make all those mistakes. And like there's a Navy SEAL saying, I think that's called like embrace the suck. Like it's going to suck. Just embrace it. You have to do that. When you get into it, you have to know that you're going to feel uncomfortable and have to power through a live shot. You're going to make mistakes and look like an idiot. Nowadays, I'm sure that stuff goes immediately on social media or whatever. We, at least when we were starting, did not have to deal with that. We were still probably getting like letters into the station and emails into the station. Because I think that growth was exponential during the course of our time
Yeah.
in TV. Like,
Right.
you know, yeah.
We would get phone calls because in Lubbock, it's Lubbock, like good luck.
Lubbock. Okay.
And every new reporter would come there saying Lubbock. And so then we would get
Yes.
phone calls. Yes.
Oh, and anytime you move to any new city, the hardest part is trying to figure out like the counties. Well, for me, I had to know all the counties on my map because if there was a warning, I needed to know all the counties. Well, so when I first moved down to Miami, no, again, so I went to Baltimore. I was there for a little bit, and then I jumped up to Miami. So this was again, these were big leaps that I was taking quickly, young, probably not ready for it. And then there was a Hurricane Jean, that first week on the air, and I was like, I don't even know my counties. Like I didn't know how to pronounce all the cities, nothing. I mean, thank God in that Miami market, there's 3 counties, so it's really okay. Like it's just a very populated area, and you got Broward County, Miami-Dade, and then Monroe County's the Keys. That was all I had to worry about, but still.
Well, and pronouncing those aren't hard either. There are so many places where it looks phonetic.
Yeah.
And you only realize that you've said it wrong when you come off air and somebody's like, oh, it's not Peabody, it's Peabody. And you're like,
right.
Oh, well, thanks for telling me. That's when, that's why a good producer is worth their weight in gold, because they know the landmines that when you're coming into a new market that you're going to step in. Unless you grew up in that area, you don't know that. What is it? Versailles, in Illinois.
Right. You would call it Versailles because you're thinking France, but it isn't.
But it isn't in so many ways.
Down in my first job, for example, there was, and how would you pronounce this? RIOGRANDE.
Hold on a second.
Community College.
RIOGRANDE. Okay.
Like that famous river in South America.
I
mean 2 words.
Oh, okay. Rio Grande.
Except this was the Rio Grande Community College.
In which market again?
Good old Parkersburg. Yeah. The Rio Grande. I am not kidding. I'm dead serious. Like how I would have said the Rio Grande Community College, right?
And
not
you would have been
Rio Grande. So.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. Well, okay. Then there is this town in Ohio, and everybody, I mean, this is not a small town. Everybody knows this, but everybody new to Ohio always gets this wrong.
Oh, right. Lima?
It's Lima. It's not Lima.
It is Lima. Okay. Now, because I got confused once you said that, I got scared.
Well, now you're making me
Well,
scared.
and then in New York, I had like Poughkeepsie and a bunch of then like Native American names where those pop up all over everywhere.
We've talked about that before. Everybody's like, okay, we've been there. We've done that. You guys just.
Yeah, shut up, guys. But I'm just saying, like, it's stressful when you first see that word for your first time ever and you're live on the air and now you have to do it. And to your point, like some of the producers that are producing for you, maybe they haven't been there that long either. And they're probably 22. So they're like not thinking right. Their brain doesn't connect all the dots yet necessarily.
I'm just going to do one.
Okay. It's fine though. Go. I would call it Leominster.
Leominster.
See, where's that?
It's in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that unless you're from there, which is why originally they're like, oh, if you're from this area, it's so good to have you work here. Blah, 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 blah.
You know how to pronounce the towns.
Yeah, you're not going to mess up Leominster or whatever the hell that was.
Okay, so again, we still have so many great questions coming in from the Ask Me Anythings. And I don't think we're going to have time to get to all of them today. We're just going to have to figure out.
This is just a series now, okay? Like we're just going to do some and then we'll do some more another time.
Yeah, right. So you can keep them coming.
Yeah, because we have some awesome guests coming up, by the way. Yeah, go ahead. Oh.
Starting with the classic. How does WGN keep all their people for all these years?
All right. You want to go first or me?
This
is a fair perception of why, though. We don't know for sure, but
I would say it's a couple reasons. WGN they go their own way, right? That being said, their morning show especially is an 800-pound gorilla. So when you are the number one leader, you can do whatever you want.
You can.
When you're
And
laggard, then they're going to be like, oh, let's try this and throw this at the wall and throw this at a wall and blow that
we're in
team up.
fourth place.
Yeah.
See what sticks.
Those are my reasons. What's your reason?
Okay, my reason, couple reasons. Their ownership group is kind of different too. They don't have like so many stations, and they're considered that super station. So I think it's almost treated like a flagship station, even though it's in Chicago, not New York. So there's a little more stability there. But also, I think they really promote the personalities of the people that are on the air. Like they embrace that and promote that and like want them to be really personable. So those people are harder to replace because if you're promoting a personality and a person, then they're not as interchangeable as when you're like just filling the gap in a show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. They
And
let
then
you be.
I also think that it's one of those snowball effects. When somebody's been in the chair for a long time, it is a lot harder to replace them or change the team because that team has been together for 20 years and people do know them and feel like, they have breakfast with them every morning. So if you were to get
especially
rid
on
of,
a morning show.
yeah, especially on a morning show.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you were to get rid of them, it would be a personal affront to Chicago. Okay.
Yes. And we have seen that happen.
What was the most interesting story that never made it to the public?
Oh, wow.
So I will speak to this as a reporter. In the world of a reporter, if you are good, then you have many, many sources and you have lots of people telling you things that are probably true. In most instances, they are. But to come on air with it, you have to be able to verify it. Because if you are negligent, then you open yourself up for libel.
Yeah.
As we know, the media is protected as long as they are doing their due diligence. But if it shows that you're being negligent, then you are opening yourself up to lawsuits. Like if somebody said, Megan is actually a vampire bat and every night
But it's true.
And if I just went on air in a public forum and said those things without checking, then Megan could ostensibly sue me.
That's true. And I also think and I see this in what I'm doing now in more like kind of real world stuff, but as it still applies to content. You can't become married to every single fact you learn because not all of them are important to telling the story. It might be interesting as hell, but you can't fit it into your minute 30 package because it leads you down a different path that would mean another 30 seconds or 45 seconds out of the story. So like sometimes you have to leave that stuff on the cutting room floor just because it doesn't fit into putting the story together. Like I can remember back when I used to do those like celebrity interview things in New York, we would be in a junket and I would have a piece that's like a minute 30 long and it had to be about one particular element of the story, but we would have gone off on a total tangent and I would have gotten some really interesting piece of information, but it didn't even remotely fit into my story. And if the news director was like, no, I need your story to be what we told you to do, then I just had to leave that stuff. And it kind of hurt because I'm like, man, I learned this cool thing about whatever actor or actress it was, So I feel like those things happen a lot.
Yeah. Just painting in broad brushstrokes here, though, there's a lot of things like you would have known, professional sports players, who they were sleeping with, or, certain verifiable rumors of high profile people and how they spent their time and who they spent their time with, which isn't even newsworthy because I do believe personal lives.
But it's interesting.
It is. And we know it, but of course you would never go on air with it. Yeah. Also on the other side of that, terrible stories of abuse and detailed abuse that you would never publish because again, there's no reason that people should ever have to live with some of the stuff that we knew was happening, with detailed stories.
Can we take the other angle too, though? Like another way you could read this question is somebody asking if politically speaking, did things get left out because it didn't meet a specific agenda at any station you were working at? Now, I didn't have that because I was certainly like doing the weather. And so that was sort of set. But I can say that I oftentimes would try to draw some kind of correlation to climate change. And sometimes the station wouldn't want that to be done, or they would want me to find the correlation, and there wasn't always a correlation. So it's interesting because, like, sometimes I feel like politics kind of, without even knowing it, you may not even mean to do it, they may not have any intention of doing it, but sometimes that does have a little angle on what actually makes it or doesn't make it.
So I was never a political reporter, so I can't answer that. We will have some political reporters on, though, who maybe can say if they had stories that were scrubbed.
Yeah, I wonder. Just because, like, what if you don't want to tick off a certain part of an administration? You need to rely on them to tell you stuff later. Do you not run a story? I don't know if that stuff happens. I think it
Well,
probably could.
right. And I can remember an instance, though, where I think it was under the Rahm Emanuel administration where they only granted interviews to certain reporters who were known to be a little bit softer.
Right. Well, I mean, when I did the interview with Obama, they only wanted meteorologists to come ask the questions. And he hadn't granted any interviews with any reporters in over a year, I believe, like any sit down. So all the networks were clamoring to have their meteorologists ask these really deep questions that didn't really have anything to do with climate change or the climate report that had come out, because this was the one chance they had to get him on cam talking about whatever it was. So that was kind of stressful because it was a little bit like, okay, you can ask about the Keystone Pipeline and climate change, but like you also need to ask about these 7 other things that have nothing to do with that. And I didn't understand those things. So I was like, dear Lord.
Yeah, but I think that that's totally fair because,
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the tenets of journalism is
Yeah.
holding power to account, right? And asking them questions that they don't want to answer.
Yeah. But you know what they were trying to do there?
Yes, they were
They
trying
were
to not answer the
hoping.
questions that everybody wanted them
Right.
to answer.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
Did you ask any sticky questions
Yeah.
of
Heck yeah,
Obama?
I did. I had time for 4 questions. Only one of them was about weather, and it was my last question. I asked about is when the Nigerian school
Oh no.
girls had do. I don't know. There was a bunch of stuff, but it was not any of it weather. And I felt like, me personally, I was like, I feel bad. And then I'm like, okay, gotta do it anyway. So just gonna go do it.
I
So
don't think Obama remembers that Megan Claros asked him an unscripted question.
I
All
doubt
right.
it.
How are ratings communicated to the on-air talent? What level of detail about the rating book is shared? This, I would say, varies station to station. I have worked at stations where every day in the newsroom, the overnights are posted, and those are the overnight ratings. I have worked at other stations where it's kind of a high-level monthly thing, broken down by demo, 18 to 49, women versus men, and then broken down by like every 15-minute segment. But yes, ratings are always also done in 15-minute segments. So you can, because what you want to watch are trends. So if you were doing the evening news, you wanted to see, all right, well, if Wheel of Fortune had an 8, did we grow or did we lose from Wheel of Fortune, right? If they were an 8, did we all of a sudden drop to a 2 and then that other 6 points went across the street, or did we maintain? So, and then in 15 minutes, it would be, did you hold them? So if you didn't hold them, then you would question, well, what was our lead story? And should we have changed this?
Exactly.
So I don't like ratings because to me, it forces you to second guess stuff that maybe shouldn't be second guessed. It's almost to me like stepping on a scale. I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
I'll just
me either.
know when there's an issue.
My pants don't fit. There's a problem.
Right.
But I think and so to talk about it from the weather side of things, because then that's where I was, they would often try to figure out where we put the 7-day forecast, because does that waiting for the 7-day forecast until the very end of the show hold people longer, or should we give the 7-day away here because then they'll stay for a recap? Like that kind of stuff plays a part. And also then if you're trying to figure out talent, if it's an anchor or a weather anchor and all of a sudden you notice that that person's filling in and the ratings were like way higher, that can tell management that maybe if that's a trend, that person is more likable or more people want to watch that person than somebody else. But I feel
Which is what happened with Nora O'Donnell.
In the mornings.
Yeah, when she was filling in for Erica.
That's right.
I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, neither can I right now. Hill.
Yeah, and I like Eric. But yeah, she just all of a sudden Nora came in and was filling in, and they were like,
People liked her.
We have found our team.
That's right. And that's how it happens. That's how like a star is discovered kind of a thing. Or like you're out on a major story and you get picked up by the network and you do an amazing job and you blow it out of the water and then you go to the network. Like that's how that stuff happens. That's how at that level, especially because they can just pull you up. You know what I mean? They could probably get you out of your contract. And if you're at an affiliate, they can easily take you at any point.
Right.
Really. Yeah.
Which market you worked was your favorite and why? What are your favorite TV shows? Did a TV news person or personality inspire you in your career? If so, who? I'll take that one by one. Which market was your favorite and why? This is going to sound super cheesy. I don't know that I have a favorite. I really liked them all and disliked them all for many different reasons. I loved working in Ohio because, my husband and I were married and on our own and no kids and with a bunch of other reporters who were, young and fun. And we would across all stations go out and hang out together. I really love Chicago. Chicago was a really fun, dynamic city to live in. I got to meet great people. So I don't know that I have a favorite.
It's hard to pick a favorite, and it's like based off what? Because like I loved Miami. I did not like my first market, Parkersburg. I didn't love Baltimore either, though it was fine. But we were doing this there. I was doing the weather for like 5 or 6 different cities a night. I can explain that another time. Nobody probably cares. But Miami, I loved. It was Miami. You know what I mean? It was warm. It was fast. It was fun. Like that was cool. Plus, I didn't have kids yet, so it was like you could take a nap when you want to and all that other stuff. New York, I liked because that was like everyone operating at their top peak level of performance. Like it's just expected there. So some stuff that might happen at other markets doesn't happen there because it's not going to get put up with at all. Like you're gone. If you screw up too many times there, you out the door. You might get a few more opportunities other places. In Chicago, honestly, I just like that market because it was home for me. Like,
Right.
and again, the people that I met, but sometimes I didn't feel like their people operated at their full potential, or maybe their full potential was lower than it had been in New York. So it didn't feel as good. Does that make sense? Like those are my reasons. I don't know. So I like those 3 were all good though.
Well, when I came to Chicago, I don't know if we're burying the lead here. This can be a separate episode. We are now not beholden to our NDAs.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the National Labor Relations Board. But when I first started in Chicago, our show didn't even have a dedicated producer. Do you remember that? It was freelance 100% of the time.
I do. And we'd had a lot of changeover too. Like there were anchors in and out and people filling in and not filling in and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's hard too, because if I'm honest, like sometimes, and I'm speaking to the news directors out there, if you just let a team that has quality people have enough time to find their rhythm and listen to the people who are on the air about what they think might make the show better, you might actually get there. But a lot of times I feel like their natural inclination is just to like replace somebody, or they give it like 2 months. Let's try doing blah, blah, blah. 2 months. It's not enough time, So anyway.
What are your favorite TV shows? My favorite TV show is 30 Rock. Megan's favorite TV show is Golden Girls.
Yep.
Did a TV news person or personality inspire you in your career? No. I simply fell into an internship at KCNC in Denver because I'm from Colorado. Went out with a reporter one day and I was like, oh my God, I love this.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was it. I don't really have anybody necessarily either. I did kind of have a mentor though, but I was already going to do the career, and I was already like on that road. But Vetus Reed, who was the weekend weather person in Indianapolis, I was doing I was doing an internship. Had already done one in weather. So I was doing one in news because I was trying to figure out what I would like to do better. But I found I kept going back to the weather department and hanging out with Vetus and learning about the weather machines and listen and talking to him about all that stuff.
And eventually he was how old, or what year was this?
This would have been my senior year. My senior year in college.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember Vetus telling me like, Megan, if you are doing the weather, you're going to move up way faster because you have like a specialty and whatever. And I was like, well, I like it anyway. Okay. So then I did it. So I can owe Vetus like kind of directing me and helping me understand what would work well. And he was right. But I didn't really like look up to anybody that I wanted to be like. I feel like plenty of people did, but I didn't. really.
Well, you did not major. Did you? What was your major again?
I had a double major in journalism and atmospheric sciences, so both.
Mm.
So I was already studying the weather. I already liked it, but I just wasn't sure, do I want to try to be like an anchor or do I want to go do the weather?
Yeah.
I just kind of got that double major because I thought weather would be fun. I liked it, obviously, you know? So.
Yeah. I was double major English and Spanish.
En español.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did this twice. Sorry, guys.
Samesies.
How often do these companies find any reason to end contracts? And when a contract is violated, how severe can punishment be short of firing? E.g., do they stick you in a news cam for a week for being 5 minutes late or something? I think is what
Okay.
How often? Very.
Super often.
Very to all the time.
Because here's the deal. If they have decided that somebody else has better ratings, or maybe they have more time left on their contract and you don't, and they want to bring in somebody else so they can move bodies around, play a little musical chairs, bump you out, bring somebody else in, they're going to do it. And they'll find they don't even, quite frankly, they don't even need a reason to fire you. They don't, like, were you ever told why we were fired?
No.
Me either. I have no idea. And that's kind of difficult too, because if they came to us and said, Megan, we're firing you because blah, 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 I would have said, that sucks. You couldn't change it anyway. I'm just guessing why I was fired. I don't know. You know what I mean? And that kind of is weird. But yeah, they don't need a reason. Zero reasons needed.
More often than not, they'll say, well, we've decided not to renew you. But that could be 6 months before the end of your contract. And then you might still have to finish out those 6 months working there.
Yeah. Well, you guys remember Jen, if you've watched any of these other episodes, my friend Jen, who is still working in Miami, she was at another station in Miami and they wanted to go a different direction on the anchor desk. So pulled her off the anchor desk and put her out to report. And it was like just an absolute smack in the face. They're like, you can stay if you want, but she had an out, meaning she could leave if they took her off the anchor desk. So sometimes they'll play that game. Like if you have an out, if you blah, blah, blah. Like if we put you to weekends, you can leave. Or if we put you off mornings, you can leave. They'll play those games. They'll put you off mornings hoping you're actually going to leave and they don't have to fire you.
Yeah. And then to answer the other part of the question, so as far as punishments go, I wouldn't say there really are punishments because if you are well liked on air, they're not going to hold you off air. And they still want their pound of flesh, whether you messed up or not.
Yeah. I mean, like messing up just kind of happens. I don't feel like you're punished for it. Now, there is the Don Lemon situation that just happened recently. He was certainly punished. And there was the Amy Robach thing. They were punished. But those were bigger, more high profile total FUBARs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what happened with Don Lemon. Have we talked about that?
No.
Oh, man. You know about that, right?
Yes.
Dude.
Thank you for asking though, because I often don't keep up with pop culture, but
just checking that you knew before we started going down this road. So Don Lemon, when he was anchoring, said something along the lines of a woman being, I think it was Nikki Haley, was way past her prime.
She's past her prime since she's
at 51.
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to say that women who were in their prime in their 20s and low 30s or something like that.
Well, and then like had the dumbest response to the women who were with him on the desk, and he was like, "What? It's a fact. You can't argue with it." It's like,
fact. Yeah. First of all, you had to know that wasn't going to end well for you. But anyway, I think he was quote unquote punished for a couple days. But I mean, look at Amy. She ain't back on. I mean, they're not coming back on. TJ,
and we called that wrong.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And now Lionel's filling in. Did you see that?
I did see.
I love that. I love that for him.
Yeah. So no, if they really don't like you, it's not like you're going to be punished. They'll just not renew you. That being said, there was one reporter who I worked with, in Rhode Island, and she could not make slot for the life of her. So there were only 2 nights.
Like if she had to be ready for her piece to air at 5:15, she was never ready.
So yeah, we only had 2 nightside reporters, and she would be, the lead for 10, not because she was, the best reporter, but because She happened to be assigned the lead story that night. Well, they made a purposeful conversion where they were not giving her the lead story anymore because she just could not. But it was more simple, like nuts and bolts, like, we can't count on you to fill this slot. So therefore, we are actively going to put you on the cat parade story. So we know that you'll have the cat parade story done at 10:15 versus 9:59, you know.
But also you have to know when that kind of stuff starts happening, you may not be long for that station.
Yeah, but this is one of those stations where you actually could not get fired.
Oh, there are a couple of those. There are
Mhm.
some of those.
Local news has been reporting that the bishop who is retiring will be staying around to help with his newly appointed predecessor settle in. This mistake was repeated in several different time slots. So this question was asking about accountability of the facts, sir. Mistakes will often be carried from newscast to newscast to newscast to newscast.
And why is that, Erin?
You have to kind of hope that the vetting has been done in the previous newscast. So often in the mornings, we were hamstrung to report what the evening shows had reported, because it's not like at 2 a.m. when I come in that I can make calls to verify anything. That's kind of the onus is on the earlier crew. That being said, where and how do mistakes happen? For many different reasons. Either you got bad information. I mean, I have before read AP News copy, which is sent to everybody, where I'm like, well, I know that this isn't right. I mean, I think this is different for everybody. I felt like my primary job as an anchor was to make sure that everything that I was reading was accurate up into the point of my level of comprehension of the facts,
Right,
which
but
I
keep
always
in
had a
mind,
high standard, but mistakes
you're not
happen
on the
and then they
team,
get carried
though.
forward. Huh?
And sometimes the stories you're reading, there's something that's wrong, some mistake that's like from a story in England or something. Like, you could never know. You're not there. You have to rely on the sources that you have. And you
Right.
also have to rely on those producers, because sometimes, especially with breaking news, I think they're getting this stuff last minute. Now you're in a breaking news situation, which means you're going pretty much wall to wall with whatever the breaking news is. That's how a lot of sneaky stuff gets tricky in there, because it's like, then you got to kill times. Then you're going to harken back to that fact that may or may not actually end up being accurate.
Right. And in this case of like a local story, if there's a mistake, the only way that a news station is going to know is if the bishop calls is like, oh, excuse me, you guys got this wrong.
Right.
And then it will be corrected. But short of that, I mean, nobody has time to really fact check post production anymore.
And if you're sitting on the desk, you just got to read the words that pop up.
That's it, Meg.
Read the words. I worked with an anchor. God bless her. I love her to death. She's still working and killing it in one of my past markets. And sometimes like weird stuff would be happening. The producers would be fighting. Like, they wouldn't be sure of the facts. It was just all this drama. And she would say, just read the words. Just read the words. Huh?
She would say it to herself.
Well, yeah. And me, or she would look at me and be like, just going to read the words, just going to read the words today. Like, because sometimes you can't get invested because you can't do anything about it. And you're already sitting at the desk and just read the words.
It's so much.
Yeah.
It's so much. And then to always have to pretend that everything is okay is a very tough skill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think we did it. Keep the AMA questions coming, though, for sure.
They are fun. And we have some cool guests coming up that I think you guys are going to like to hear from, like with some interesting like war stories and things like that. And I mean literal and figurative, both.
Yeah.
In this case.
We have a very well-known CBS correspondent coming on who, truth be told, I have a little crush on him.
I don't know how you cannot, though.
I don't know either.
Really, I don't. And it's because, like, okay, here's the thing. There are people who are on the air who are great on the air, wonderful on the air. And then there are people who literally suck up all the oxygen in the room because they have such an aura about them. And you may know these people. They don't necessarily always end up on TV, but you know what I'm talking about. That just like a palpable just sense of like power about them or whatever it is. And some people have that in spades. I think this guy does have that. But Yeah. I could tell you a story about the person who had the most like, oh my God, aura. And I did not think he was attractive at the beginning of the interview. And then by the end, I was literally like, couldn't even talk. And that's never happened to me before in my life. I don't know why it happened to me now, because if I look at him, I don't even think he's cute.
Who?
Daniel Craig. I was expecting nothing. This was the James Bond, like junket press tour or whatever. And I was like, in my mind was saying, ew, like, why do they hire him as Bond? Like, I don't get it. I don't think he's that cute. He has nice abs, but I don't think his face is that great. Like, this is what I'm thinking in my head. And then he walks in the room and I was like, I felt like a little girl, and I have no idea why. I still don't know. The only thing I can chalk it up to was just that incredible aura that the dude had, because he still wasn't that good looking. He just had the like vibe thing going on.
Charisma.
Yeah. Insane.
Times 10. All right. Megan, good to see you.
You too. I could talk forever. I want to talk today a lot. Can you tell?
Know.
This
Please
used
like and
to
subscribe. Oh my
happen.
gosh, we didn't even say that we have a podcast now.
Are we sure we do?
We have like 4 episodes that I have uploaded to the YouTube by checking a box.
Oh my God. So you can listen to us in the car.
But I think only on YouTube.
Okay. How do we find that?
I don't know.
All right, we're gonna figure that out. We need people for this, Erin, because
We're
is
not
beyond my skill
We're
set.
not those people.
Imagine
Bye,
if we
Megan.
had those people, though.
Yeah.
Like, where could we be?
Bye, everybody.